My name is Tim Bernard, and this is Beyond the Headlines, where we take a much different look at the world around us and what is going on. One of the most interesting topics, of course, will be the fake news, which is why I started to do this, because I was so sick of the fake news from the lame Main Street media. This is my website. There's tons of stuff there, more than I could possibly cover. And we are finishing out the year here, just a few days before Christmas. We've got some wild stories to take a look at. And of course, I'm not paid millions of dollars to read a script, don't even have a script. I put this show together, and we just go for it. Right now, there's 6 corporations that control 90% of the mainstream media, but we are still kicking their butts because nobody believes them. And this is what Donald Trump did to win the election. Went over their heads, did not let them define the story, which is what they've been doing. And you can hear a clip of Hillary from years ago saying this is an information war, and we're being them. They are losing the war because nobody believes. And here it is from Hitler: make the lie big, make it simple, just keep saying it, and eventually they will believe it. And that's really the way where we're at here. This was a great little thing I saw on Hillary. I kill babies, soldiers, anyone in my way. I lie like a dog. My husband's a cheater and I'm a thief. And you're afraid of Trump? False flag operations. I guarantee you, in the new year, there will be more of them. That was the whole election cycle, was a false flag op. You know, the whole thing with how far ahead she was, nothing but lies. And the best liars you'll meet in life, they believe their own lies. Even though we knew Trump was way ahead, he was so far ahead that he was able to overcome all the corruption. I mean, nobody would come to her rallies. There was this one where pictures were handed out in Cleveland, and LeBron James was there, and only a few hundred people showed up for that rally with LeBron James there. Here's Larry Nichols. He was the Clinton handler. He laid out the game plan for them until he finally became so disgusted at how corrupt they were, and he left their employee just before, as they were going to the White House. And he was involved, was giving us tons of great intel. A lot of people put their livelihoods on the line trying to get this information out. And it's just a complete disgrace. And this is the whole thing. These are the fake people. But, so what do, you deny and you make counterclaims and you tell people exactly what you're doing. These are the professors of the fake news. And this is from a few years ago, where the U.S. repealed the propaganda ban, and then it spreads government-made news to Americans. And we have more about this story. And of course, how the game is also played is you set up straw men. If they're getting too close on an issue or something, then you set up a whack job and you point everything at that, the whack job, to use that to discredit whatever the issue might be. You know, like from the Kennedy assassination to 9/11 to whatever, you find someone that's telling a complete fairy tale, and then you say everything that goes away from our narrative is, you know, and then they point to, and that's what's called a straw man. And here they are. These are Time magazines. So how close are they? Let's see, we have Meltdown on August 22nd, October 24th, total meltdown. Oh, but who is the president? Who has survived? And only by the grace of God did, because it's not their time yet. It's not the devil's time. And Hillary is the devil's children. That was one of the things Larry Nichols said. She used to go out to California about once a month or every other month and go to this little witches meeting out there. She's a very evil person. She did her college thesis was by the fellow who wrote this book, Saul Alinsky. And I was wondering how hard it was going to be to find this. And then she personally talked to Saul Alinsky and was like a pen pal with him for a while. And you just open it up. I'll just read a little bit of this. He says, lest we forget, at least an over-the-shoulder acknowledgement to the very first radical, from all our legends, mythology and history, and who is to know where mythology leaves off and history begins, or which is which? The first radical known to man who rebelled against the establishment and did it so effectively that he at least won his own kingdom? Lucifer. That was written by Saul Alinsky. That's who Hillary is a part of, the dark side. This is the great battle between the children of light and the sons of darkness. And here's just one of Hillary's many lies. She goes, I remember under gunfire, there was no greeting ceremony, and we were basically told to run to our cars. That is what happened. And here's the New York Post. The insult, the Bosnians rip Hillary for her horrible lie. Here's an actual picture of Hillary saying, oh, if anyone asks you later, you're a sniper. and here's a larger picture of their plane, and oh yeah, it looks like they were under sniper fire and had to make this big dash because of the danger. And so that's why they're doing this big push to censor what they call the alt-right, which is just people who are looking for the truth. I mean, if I make a mistake, I change it. But they have this coordinated plan that they're trying to roll out. And who's one of the big guys behind it? Is George Soros finances a group because of now they're going to, and they want to bring in the Chinese model because the Chinese are so open and you know, freedom of speech over there in China. And as they, to warp our children and our families, this was the final part of the battle announced to us from Fatima, would be how they would go to break up the family. And this whole thing with transgender stuff I mean, this social engineering, both physical and mental. This guy's a known Nazi war collaborator. I mean, he brags about it. Bragged about it on 60 Minutes even. Yep. The mainstream media claims organized pedophilia is fake news. It's everywhere. There's groups that openly promote man-boy love. Whether we're trying to root it out of the church, and it's not rooted out of the church, especially because of the homosexual influence. There's so many homosexuals in the church. By the priest's own admission in an internal poll that they took, there was about well over a third of the priests are homosexuals. Far more than in the population, and they've done this by taking over the seminaries. And here's an example of deceptive journalism. See, here they are, this former KKK leader praises Trump for appointing Bannon. Okay, so first of all, you know, you can't when you're out in the public, all sorts of people just say stuff. But if you just looked at this, you would think that they are talking about this man. And this is one of the guys they hate the most, Alex Jones. But they put his name underneath it, and then host of InfoWars, as if he is this KKK leader. See, this is a great way to the people who don't think, who don't check things out. And as Hitler said, fortunately for leaders, that their people are unwilling to think. Pope Francis compares fake news to consumption, to eating feces. I don't know. I mean, this guy, I'm sorry, he's just sliding farther and farther into La La Land. I really don't know where he's coming. I pray for him every day. That's really about all I can do. This is one of the word of the year for this year is post-truth. Post-truth, that's relating to or denoting circumstances in which objective facts are less influential in shaping public opinion than appeals to emotion and personal belief. I remember I caught this one holy guy lying, and I said, one of us seems to be mistaken. Could you show me where you got your information? And he just said, no, that's your truth. Yeah, okay. And here's William Casey. He was the CIA director under Reagan. We'll know our disinformation program is complete when everything the American public believes is false. I mean, it's right out there in the open. And the Senate votes to legitimize CIA propaganda in America. And they gave them, I believe, this just happened. So, and they gave them like $166 million or something. And that's just what they've said. I mean, under Bush, I remember doing stories where they openly said they had spent over $1 billion on false propaganda. That was selling the whole 9/11 narrative when everything changed. No, the manure just got deeper and steeper. But we are the resistance, the V from the Vietnam War and the peace sign, also from the Vichy government in World War II, where the French partisans would mark V's on buildings and stuff. I mean, they, being the globalists, openly write books. This is one that's available free online. And I have a link to it at my website. The First Global Revolution, and they've already divided the world up. Remember the 10 kingdoms? We are coming to you from FEMA District 10, Global Region 1. And you should take a look at what it has to say about using the climate issue to help bring about this total totalitarian system that they are doing. I mean, it's not my words, it's their words. Those who forget the past are doomed to repeat it and to become slaves to it. This is Bohemian Grove. I mean, this is right out of the Old Testament. This is Northern California, where a lot of our political, military, academic leaders have gone to this place. Oh, and what are they doing there? In front of this 45-foot stone owl? They're doing a mock sacrifice of a child. That's what that is. This is where they bring the child in an effigy on this lake, and all the people are on the other side of the lake here, and then they do this little ceremony, right out of the Old Testament, Moloch. And here's a Benedictine abbot playing Highway to Hell. I mean, this is insane. The devil has taken over a lot of music, especially what's considered pop music, mainstream music. I mean, you start looking at, and I've done tons of articles about that, where the different singers openly talk about some spirit coming into them, or in Lady Gugu's case, Judas. And here it is, the National Academy of Television Arts and Scientists. And what are those, the first letters of each thing? It's in reverse, Satan. You know, they love to throw it in your face. And here they are. I believe this might be down in Oklahoma, where they're putting up, a priest put out a nativity, and it's interesting. This is the devil's child's one. This is the goat head, Baphomet. But it says the greatest gift is knowledge. And I agree with that. And my people die for lack of knowledge. Look how our Lord marked us up there. That's a molecule in every cell in our body called laminin. Shaped just like a cross, and the cross has 3 subunits, 3 in 1. Just by accident that happened, you betcha. And the war on Christmas, atheists threatened to sue Ohiotown for the nativity scene. Here's this young MP, Marine Le Pen, complaining, let the town halls install nativity scenes as a symbol of culture and identity. Oh, but we don't want to offend the Muslims. My goodness, can't offend the Muslims. Goodness gracious. And this is a Muslim's plan. They openly talk about it. I mean, I've shown you how they just mock us over here. France bans video with Down syndrome kids to avoid disturbing the conscience of abortive moms. Insanity. Oh yeah, Down syndrome people can't smile. Democrats against funding investigation of aborted baby parts trafficking. The fake committee will fuel fake news, guaranteed. It's interesting, this is a black woman, because who do they abort the most? Oh, where's the most dangerous person? The most dangerous place for a black person is in the womb. Over half of black pregnancies are aborted. But Nick Cannon, you know, here he doubles down on this and says it. Remember the last show I mentioned he had spoken out. He said Planned Parenthood is modern day eugenics. Well, yeah, that's what their founder was all about, Margaret Sanger. The French National Assembly approves a bill outlawing some pro-life websites. See, this is the censorship coming in. Here in Cairo, at least 25 people killed in an explosion at a Coptic Christian chapel. Here's that French MP again, Marine Le Pen. The new abortion protection law blasted as total censorship. At least she's speaking out. So many of our leaders are just gutless. Here's a Catholic scholar is attacked for Catholic views at a Catholic college. The Orthodox professor at the Dominican-led Providence College in Rhode Island is the author of many books, including a translation of Dante's Divine Comedy. Prominent Catholic scholar of Renaissance literature, Anthony Esolen. Oh, and by the way, one of the things from Dante's Divine Comedy is that the hottest places in hell are reserved for those who in a time of crisis remain neutral. And if you say, well, that's not scripture, what does Jesus say? How I wish you were hot or cold, but since you are lukewarm, I spit you out of my mouth. That's from the book of Revelation. Check it out. LGBT groups blast the Vatican for banning homosexuals from seminaries. Well, as I told you, that's they're only talking about it. They're not actually doing it. Breaking, Ontario unanimously passes a radical LGBT bill redefining the parent-child relationship. Because that's the whole thing, is to destroy the family. These guys don't care at all about gay marriage. They're just using that as a stepping stool to tear down society, to tear down the family. That's what they're doing. Here's a priest. Muslim migrants ruthlessly bully Christian kids. I mean, this is what's going on. You know, they desecrate the Virgin Mary or Jesus. There's hardly a whimper. They make a cartoon of Muhammad, and millions of people are out in the streets protesting. These radical Muslims go out and butcher people all over the world, all over the US, Europe. Nobody says anything. No, you know what they actually say? We need to bring more of them in. Hillary wanted to increase the immigration of Muslims by over 500%. And they're not even checking them out. I mean, it's just so bizarre. They don't even check them out for diseases. I remember, I just saw a show, oh, well, that's discrimination. You're saying that these immigrants are bringing in diseases. No, it's a fact. I mean, I've shown the x-rays of the TB in different parts of the country. And this is just reality. Wake up! Oh, but that's right. The bishops got $90 million to help promote this. Oh, and how many Christians are they bringing in? A fraction of 1% are Christians from over there. Well, yeah, well, here it is. I guess, according to this one, through November of 2016, 98.9% were Muslim. And so some of them were other. And so, like I said, a fraction of 1% were Christian. And they're just flooding in. And they're using us over here. It's like one of the leaders down in Guantanamo Bay said that, yeah, we're just going to come in. We're going to wrap ourselves around your civil liberties. And we're going to take your welfare so that we can study and practice, form our group. So when the time is right, we're going to start. And they've already started. And most people are going to pee in their pants. I mean, a friend of mine's son I happened to meet last summer, and he says he's gay, and he's living in London. And he's all for this Muslim mayor of London. And let me explain something to you guys. The Muslims hate you. I'm talking about LGBT people way more than me even. Because at least I believe in God. And am not partaking of, except for when they rape. I mean, that's this really weird dichotomy of this when you study them. It's okay for them to have little boys and stuff. I mean, talk to the troops over in Afghanistan and stuff, what goes on, and what they do to women. Oh yeah, and you liberal women who think you're so high and mighty, they won't care about you old hags. But if you're a young woman, and they openly talk about this, you're going to be forced bred. If they take over, if people like me don't save your lazy, neurotic, or delusional butts, you ain't gonna, because they don't care what you think. You're just a woman to them. This is how they think. Women have very little rights over there. Oh, have you ever noticed the burqas they gotta wear and stuff? Yeah, you'll be checking that out, huh? Well, here's the German state media defends not reporting a girl raped and murdered by a refugee. But yet, persecuted archbishops, Christian archbishops, are denied entry into Britain. I mean, up is called down, good is called evil. Cardinal says the Vatican deal with China would betray Jesus Christ. But this is the rise of the dragon. Right out of prophecy. Cardinal Marx, 8th bishop prelate to reject the dubia, but 2 new bishops support it. This is the great battle that was foretold and it became really sharp in Akita. That was probably about 40 years ago now. And it was said worthy of belief by Cardinal Ratzinger, Pope Benedict XVI, where it talked about cardinal against cardinal, bishop against bishop, priest against priest. This is what's coming. There is this church, a false church being built within the Catholic Church that wants to go with the world. And very few will resist it. Very few. Security guards at the church services as new clientele defecate and masturbate in the pews. This was from the fires a little while ago in Tennessee. That's a statue of Christ. And this is from Joel. This is the end of the first chapter. If you'd like to read it, it talks about the cleansing with fire. Fire devoureth everything. Right in there. Anyway. Here's Pope Pius V. All the evil in the world is due to lukewarm Catholics. And I told you what Jesus said about lukewarm people. This is what's coming up next year. Viewed from Jerusalem will be fulfilled on the 23rd of September. This is the beginning of the book of the 12th chapter of the book of Revelation. And there's also an interesting thing about Jupiter entering the womb and stuff. It's a fascinating thing. So you can check this out some more. And it's also an interesting year in the Jewish calendar. This is the year 5777. They know what's going on. They don't want us to suffer. They're trying to help us, but we have to do something. From a prayer life to learning what's going on around you. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. This was from 400 years ago. Our mother, this is an approved apparition, Our Lady of Good Success. She said about the passions will erupt and there will be a total corruption of customs. For Satan will reign almost completely by means of the Masonic sects. They will focus particularly on the children in order to achieve this general corruption. Woe to the children of these times. Now, look at what we see. Look at what I've shown you already. Here's the Washington Post. The Virgin Mary offends rape victims by her purity. I mean, the key to the book of Revelation is Alpha and Omega, first and last. If you want to read the book, it's very short. That's how it's laid out. This is a fulfillment from 1999. He got this, Father Zudak, S-U-D-A-C. That cross has been checked out by the Vatican. He now has the full stigmata, even. This is right from the 6th chapter. The angels have been sent to the four corners of the earth. And God goes, let's mark our people before you hurt the earth. And the marking formally started in 1999. You and I are not going to get marks. We have to believe in God. That's all. That's what it's all about. And this is another church-approved apparition from La Salette, talking about the holy sacrifice and the Mass will be outlawed for the 3.5 years. That's from the 12th chapter of the book of Daniel. The daily sacrifice, and of course the 3.5 years is also mentioned in the book of Revelation. And so it will go underground as it was before. And this is what Eisenhower warned us about. I have a permanent link to his speech about a scientific technological elite and how this cadre of people would get into every facet of our life. Every facet, including religion. The U.S. deploys tanks and artillery to Europe to counter Russian aggression. I mean, we're the ones who are prodding and poking Russia, surrounding them with military, overthrowing countries right on their border. I mean, this is real. They want to get a war going with them. They, who are they? They're the globalists. They're the ones who are screwing us and laughing all the way to the bank. Here's a massive avatar-like robot, mimics human movements. I mean, the world, we could have such a great world if we weren't wasting so much money on this, on the military. I mean, it's just pathetic. And Trump asked God to bless America in his Thanksgiving address. Obama, I don't need God. I'm Obama. Check this out. Border security, racist, law and order, racist, fascist, better trade deals, racist, misogynist. It's time we unite America. I demand a recount. Of course, that didn't go too well for them. They actually lost votes. Then they tried to go after the electors, and they lost more electors than they took away from Trump. The new UN boss tells Europe migration is unstoppable. Says politicians should ignore the voters. See, this is a totalitarian states. This is what they're setting up. Prop or not ID service. This is pretty much anybody hating on Soros is echoing Russian propaganda. If you don't agree with the globalists and the mainstream media, you are Russian propagandists. An activist who served on George Soros finance boards behind the scheme to take Trump's electoral college votes. But that didn't work. Gradually, by selective breeding, the congenital differences between the rulers and the ruled will increase until they become almost different species. A revolt of the plebs would become as unthinkable as an organized insurrection of sheep against the practice of eating mutton. You know, and that's also, that last line is also what not Bertrand Russell, but Aldous Huxley said to a group of shrinks in a 1962 speech. You can hear it at Berkeley online. He's the author of Brave New World, if you don't know. A nation which expects to be ignorant and free in a state of civilization expects that which never was and never will be. Thomas Jefferson. And here's another quote from Aldous Huxley. Facts do not cease to exist because they are ignored. Or in today's case, oh, that's fake. Okay, whatever. Countering disinformation and the Propaganda Act. Yeah, war is peace. Freedom is slavery. Ignorance is strength. 1984, the Ministry of Truth in the Senate, which was quietly passed, the Countering Disinformation and Propaganda Act. Islamic State instructs Western sympathizers on how to kill infidels. What happened in Berlin? Oh, and that is, like I said, we talk about false flag operations. Let me tell you a couple things about this thing. Okay, the guy who they're currently, now they released the first guy, they said, oh, he didn't have anything to do with it. And the new guy who they're saying did it, and why do they know who this guy is? Oh, because he left his ID underneath the seat. Now that's pretty strange. And who is this guy? He's a guy who was under surveillance, but then they stopped. And then he had he was looking for asylum, but he was denied it because he had a criminal record in Tunisia and Italy. But he didn't have the right paperwork, so they just let him go. Hey, and you like sanctuary cities? Remember that beautiful woman they blew away in San Francisco? And there's many other murders that have happened from these people. And I'm not against immigrants. But I am against just letting anybody in willy-nilly, not checking them for disease. I mean, this is insane what's going on. Stop being suckers. Here's global temperatures plunge, icy silence from the climate alarmists. Oh yeah. And here's just some pictures. That's 2012. This is 2013. And this is the most recent one from 2016, August 13th, 2016. You know, so I guess I don't see it disappearing. And of course, oh, and here's snow in the Sahara Desert. Hey, don't worry about it, baby. Oh, that's right. I keep forgetting that. It's climate change. When I was younger, it was there's an ice age coming, then it was global warming, then it started cooling again, so now it's climate change. Just give us all your money, give up all your rights, and don't worry, eventually we'll kill you. And California now is going to start regulating cow farts. I mean, this is the lunacy of what's going on. Just complete lunacy. Over 60,000 people every year get adult stem cell treatments, embryonic cells. Well, they basically help no one, but they get the bulk of the funding. Here's that Marine Le Pen and politicians ready to deal with the new political forces like Trump. And this is looking back at what they did last summer in Nice. She was featured on my site, had a great interview. I believe you can catch it in my free online documentaries and clips. Yeah, radical Islam, oh, can't say that. That would be racist. Because they're so loving. Berlin's new Secretary of State, pro-Sharia, conservative Muslim. Oh, well, we just won't talk about that. You know, that little problem we had in Berlin and those, well, that's the Christians, you know, the Christmas markets. Welcome to 2030. I own nothing. I have no privacy, and life has never been better. Oh yeah, this is utopia. Tell me how to think. Tell me how to think. South Sudan's soldiers rape UN camp girls by the dozen while peacekeepers watch. And the U.S. approves UN use of force to protect civilians in the conflicts. Oh yeah. Oh, this is a great thing. Fidel died, you know, a little while ago. And everyone's talking up this great nation that he built up. Well, this is his funeral, and the vehicle carrying him broke down. And so these are soldiers getting out there pushing his casket. You gotta love it. You gotta love it. And here's some weird pig that was born over in China that has this face. Well, weird face. I mean, this isn't from known genetic engineering. Could be from pollution, though, because there's a lot of pollution in that country. The bankster takeover. It just rolls on. And this is who they sit behind in the shadows, and they're getting us to fight it out. We need to wake up to what is going on and take action. Because if we don't, they're going to take everything. That's what bullies do. They just keep taking and taking and taking. And it's like Thomas Jefferson said, he feared bankers far more than standing armies. And he said that if we ever got a private bank in our country, we would lose our country through periods of inflation and deflation. When they're about to pull a real bad one, Trump slowed it down. We'd already be in a really bad mess. And this is the richest family in the world, the Rothschilds. They're not on the list. Of course not. Only the upper middle class get on the wealthiest people in the world list. The billionaire. These people count their money in trillions. Let me issue and control a nation's money, and I care not who writes its laws. Because they can make the economy good. The economy has been artificially suppressed under Obama. Because they want to destroy our country. But they wanted to get Hillary in as the finisher. And Hillary was talking about her fun camps. I mean, just look it up. Just type in Hillary fun camps and you'll hear her talk about it. If you think they were going to be fun, well, we'll just have to have a disagreement on, fun is called not fun. And hell on earth is called fun by Hillary. Again, these people are master manipulators. A great documentary to look at is All Wars Are Bankers' Wars. It's free. It's about 45 minutes long. It's in that section I have on the left side there with free documentaries and clips. It's right near the top. It's one of the featured ones. If you don't understand global finance and everything, because they're getting really close to pulling the pin and getting rid of the dollar as the reserve currency. Now, I understand right now it's rising, but the fundamentals, it can be pulled at any time. And they did a test crash 3 years ago. I believe it was like the weekend of June 19th and 20th or something like that. And then they brought the economy back that Monday because they weren't ready to collapse the economy, but they wiped out a ton of wealth just over the weekend. And what did they do? They froze up interbank lending. They froze up, and that's what's going to happen. I mean, they're raising interest rates now. We cannot support the interest rates. Because already, take a look at, I don't think I have it in this one, but I believe we're paying over $200 billion a year in interest. We cannot handle rising interest rates. It will bankrupt the system. It will shut it down. And now that Trump is in, and so they just postponed it, and now they can do the collapse next year, and they'll just go, well, it's because you let this guy Donald Trump in, who talks about who says that, we're evil. You need us. We're the globalists. You don't understand us. We'll take care of you. Just keep drinking the fluoride and let us stick you with shots. Well, we don't take those shots. We have our own special stuff. But it's for you because we love you. We want to take care of you. You own nothing. And we tell you how to think. Proof that the global elite really do want a global society with no possessions, no privacy, and no freedom. Trump is already creating jobs, whether it's the carrier people. We also have Japan, a Japanese telecom company, says it's going to invest $50 billion in the U.S. and create 50,000 jobs here in the U.S. I mean, Obama was too lazy. He wasn't too lazy, actually. He just didn't want to bring in carrier. And there was tons of stuff. Even on the alternative energy stuff, there was that great thing that 60 Minutes did back in, right after, back in like 2009. And this guy had a solar array plant that he wanted to get going. And it was only going to have about 100 or so people initially. But he couldn't get any funding from Obama, so he wound up going to China. And when you go to China, you have to give them all of your patent rights and everything, and all the technology. And of course, one of the more famous, but there was much more than one, deal that Obama did for us was the Solyndra deal, where he gave $500 million. And all they got out of the deal was this warehouse with the sign Solyndra on it. Some of his pals made a ton of money on that deal. And for less than, for a fraction of $500 million, you could easily get the alternative energy movement going here. Because it's already under the thing, under the radar and being hampered. But if it was really allowed to be promoted, and we don't want to put all of our eggs in one basket, we do not want the grid system. The grid is not a good deal. I mean, aside from the expense, aside from the vulnerability of it from natural disasters, you want to keep everything small, as small a unit as possible, and ship it out. It's much better strategically to have it like that. But we have this vested interest. We would save so much money. But everything is being held back. Disney IT workers forced to train their own replacements. You know, what are we doing? We're destroying our country. We're allowing the elite, and there's really only one party. They have two sides, Republicans and Democrats. And the total authoritarians and the more evil people have taken over the Democrats. You could call them commies, but it's really an authoritarian system, and really would be more like fascism. And we're trying to take over the Republican Party because we're Christians. This is the reality of it. We are a Christian nation. Of course, not according to Obama. Obama says we're not a Christian nation. If we keep mocking God, and Jay Inslee in his inaugural address, he did not mention God at all. He probably won't this time either. And there's a spanking coming. A big spanking. Here's the employment population ratio since 2000. You can see it dropping down there. A record number of employed, 152,000 people are employed, but a record 152 million are employed, but also a record 95 plus million are not in the workforce. And that's the worst participation rate since, I believe, back in the 70s. Healthcare spending is up another 6%, and in some areas, and that's another thing that helped get Trump elected, because people were getting all of these big increases in Obamacare. That's just a screw job, the Obama screw job. And we're spending 10 grand per person? That's insane for how terrible and mediocre our coverage is. That's just insane. And believe me, if Trump gets out of line, when Bush was in, I was calling for him to go to jail, and I still am. Both him and Cheney and a bunch of people in his administration should be going to jail for multiple crimes. But we'll see. We're going to give him the benefit of the doubt to see how this guy works out. I'm a little leery of people coming from Goldman Sachs, but we'll see, because we'll see what they do. That's what it's really all about. Seeing the fake left-right paradigm. They pretend like there's a left and they pretend like there's a right, but in reality, the board of directors never changes. And this was the last guy, and that's why that last one, because it's this monetary policy that Trump was always sort of quiet about. He said, like, audit the Fed. Well, we need to get rid of the Fed. And he's going to have a chance to replace a bunch of the governors and and Yellen. But this is the silver certificate This was Executive Order 11110 that JFK put in just before he died, just before he was assassinated by the money changers for doing that, for taking away. See, it's legalized counterfeiting for the few people who own the Federal Reserve, because that's actually a private bank. It's not federal, it's private. And here is the actual executive order. And this is an actual silver certificate. And of course, he was shot from behind, but of course his head was blown off from the front. And here's his press secretary that morning at the hospital, pointing right where the entrance wound for the headshot was, right where you would expect it coming from over there. But don't worry about it. You just keep eating your GMO food. It's so good for you. These are some rats that ate it for just a few months, getting tumors and lesions and everything else. Here's that Bertrand Russell that we had that. I have a copy of this book, Diet, Injections, and Injunctions, will combine from a very early age to produce the sort of character and the sort of beliefs that the authorities consider desirable, and any serious criticism of the powers that be will become psychologically impossible. That's the impact of science on society, written in 1953. They just have these long-term plans, and they're bringing it all about. And here's what they're putting in the water. And they just say, yeah, but it's good for you. But on the bag it says, it's not good for you. I mean, it says toxic by ingestion, and these are the target organs. And it's worse for boys than it is for girls. And it bioaccumulates in your bones. And this is the FDA's own website. 2 million serious adverse drug reactions yearly, over 100,000 deaths yearly. Nothing to see here, just move along. No nation could preserve its freedom in the midst of continual warfare. James Madison. Speaking the truth in deceitful times is a revolutionary act. Oh, and buildings just fall down by accident. You know, this is Building 7, nothing hit it on 9/11. Architects and engineers for 9/11 Truth, over 2,500 architects and engineers who've put their life on the line. And this was from 2007, this initial story where they put the date of 2017. House passed, and this is not the only bill that's been passed about this. Here's the House passes a bill allowing the government to microchip citizens with mental disabilities. And of course, who decides who has a mental disability? That's one of the most famous things used by authoritarian states to get rid of dissenters. Oh, you don't like us? You must have mental problems. Can't you tell? I told you the sky is pink. No, it looks blue to me. No, it's pink. This is what's coming. And here's a top Democratic strategist, Zbigniew Brzezinski. And here he's talking about between two ages, how everything will be tracked and controlled. More interesting thing, he talks about how it used to be so easy to indoctrinate 1 million people, but now he goes, it's much easier to kill 1 million people than it is to indoctrinate 1 million people. And that's what their plan is. I've shown you the Georgia Guidestones before, where it openly says that they need to maintain a population on the earth under 500 million. Sort of a good day to talk about this, because the Georgia Guidestones are set up on the equinox, and today is the solstice. Look outside the frying pan, my friends. We are burning. The take-home message from 9/11, it was the anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi's very first protest. So wake yourself up. We must be the change that we wish to see in the world. It must be a revolution of love. They will call it hate. But we need to, through prayer and fasting and love, we will overcome. Seek the truth and bear witness to it. The truth is, this is not your body. This is her body. This is a little girl, a legal abortion. This will stop. It will stop. The blood of the innocent cries out to heaven. You know, and that's what got Abby Johnson to finally, she was a Christian who, she's now converted to Catholicism, but while she was just some kind of an evangelical, she was actually a manager of a Planned Parenthood. And she didn't have any problem because at the end of the procedure, they have to put all the body parts together to make sure they got it all out, the whole body out. But what finally got her is she saw an ultrasound of an abortion, and she saw the little child trying to save itself. It was aware of what was going on, that it was going to be murdered. Yeah, and this is from the main one here at 19th and Madison. Health, passion, freedom, and strength. Well, not for that child. It wasn't too healthy for her. Colored people are like weeds and are to be exterminated. This is from the founder of Planned Parenthood. Look it up for yourself if you don't believe me. Endangered species, that's right. They're going after you guys. What? It says over 266 unarmed black lives each day are killed by Planned Parenthood. Jesus sees what's going on. There will be change. The more that he has to do, the worse it is for us. He gives us all the grace. We just have to take action. Through prayer and fasting, we can change the world. But you have to do something. Anyway, here's more information here. Tons more at my website. Here's how you can contact me. One simple thing you can do is tell people about the show. Thursday nights, 8 to 9. It's also on at midnight that night. And then Friday afternoon from 1 to 2. And remember what my Sioux brothers say. Matakawe we seen, we are all related. And may God bless you and your family. May you have a blessed and joyous and Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And we'll see you next year where we'll do a show and we'll take a look at everything that happened in 2016. God bless you.